Hello, Dad. This is Jay Warren. This is the Dadhood Journey podcast. And today's topic is this: Dad can't handle them on their own? Really? Let's do this.
Hi, my name's Miko, and you're listening to my dad, Jay Warren. This is the Dadhood Journey podcast. Thanks for listening.
Yep. So I came in on a conversation at a breakfast of some moms talking about what the title of this podcast episode is actually the moms that were talking were not talking about their spouses not being able to handle the kids on their own. They were talking about another friend of theirs who the mom was saying that the dad couldn't handle the kids on their own. Now, some background on this particular family before I get into my take on this subject is this family has 4 kids, 2 somewhat olders, 2 somewhat youngers, and the situation was going to be that mom was taking the 2 youngers away for most of the day, and she didn't think that the husband could handle the 2 older kids by himself all day long, and so she was beside herself, upset, mad that she wasn't going to be able to go do this thing with her younger kids because her husband can't handle the older kids. Now, the moms telling the story were in agreement that this dad couldn't handle the older kids, and I'm assuming, and this is an assumption, that these moms knew that dad, but I don't know that for sure. I did not enter into this conversation. I was tactfully staying out of the fray because I was getting triggered by it. But then I was able to talk after the fact about this specific situation, get some more details about with one of the moms to find out like what the real deal was. And so, all right, my thoughts on this is on this subject is this. Now, knowing some specifics of things, the dad's totally able to do things. He's done a lot with the kids. It's just the mom is pretty controlling and protective and won't allow that to happen, even though he's insisting that he would. So first off, I have to say when I was first hearing the conversation, I had 2 different scenarios going through my head. Either one, dad really had no experience taking care of the older 2 kids on his own, and that's a problem because you're the dad and you should be able to do it solo. It's way easier doing it as a team, of course, but I strongly think that you as a dad should step up and be doing things on your own when it has to, whether she goes for a weekend away with the girls, for a night away, for an afternoon away, goes to see her folks herself, go see family. God forbid there's an emergency of some kind where mom is taken away and needs to go away to be with family for an emergency of some kind, and then dad, you need to take over. Like, you got to be ready for that. And so in that scenario, if dad hasn't stepped up and taken care of the kiddos and learned how to do that, one, that's on him because he needs to step up and do that and make the space and say, hey, like, if I don't know how to do this, teach me how. I need to learn how to it. This is an important family skill, life skill that I need to have to be leading my family. Or in that same scenario, mom's not letting him because she's being over controlling. And that's another issue that needs to be addressed, that dad needs to say, okay, like, this is something that's important for us. Like, you can't always have that be something that you're hanging over my head that I can't do it because you're never letting me do it. Right? So In the other scenario, though, it turned out that dad was fully available, wanted to take care of the kids. It's just the mom was being, as I just said, like hyper controlling and not allowing him to take over and to do things with the kids so she could do what she wanted. She was just complaining about it. And that just really bothered me, that like you can't have it both ways. Like you can't have the situation be where like you complain about him not being able to and then not letting him when he wants to, and or like get up to speed and learn how to, so that in the future it can have a part. Like for me, like I take Nico away all the time. Like I go up to visit my folks, and yes, like my folks are there, and as I've talked about in previous episodes, they take over and it's awesome. I get a break. But there's been times where I've gone up to my family's cabin solo. It's just been me and Nico for the weekend, and it's awesome. And there's been times where Effie's had to go away. She's gone away to visit her family, and I was with Nico solo, and yes, I pulled it off, and, largely ever since he was a baby, there's been, our schedules are separate enough that there are, 2.5 days a week at least, I'm with Nico myself. I don't work Wednesdays. Effie works Saturdays, so she's gone, and then I work in the morning, and Grandma takes care of Nico on Friday mornings, and I'm home Friday. And, I'm with him the whole time, There's no babysitter, there's no nanny, there's no grandma hovering over or helping out. I shouldn't say hovering over, just there and helping out. I do it myself, and I think that's really important for a dad to be able to do that. It gives you a confidence that, at the very least, if it's just in an emergency situation where something happens and, God forbid, mom is called away, that there isn't that added stress of like, well, what's dad going to do with the kids, But, it's something that if you yourself as a dad don't feel confident that you could handle things with the kids and get them everywhere they need to be and get them to bed and wake them up and get them clothed and get them fed and all that good stuff on your own for a whole weekend, then I would set that as a goal in the next months or whatever time frame you want, to make sure that that's something you get dialed in, and work with your wife on that, on how to do things, and ask how to do things. I know it might be humbling and a little embarrassing to ask, like, hey, I don't know how to do this and I want to, and you might get a little flack of like, what do you mean you don't know how to do this, or like, no way, there's no way you can do this, and her not supporting you. But if you talk her through it and say, this is important, this is something I want to have for me, I want to know my kids are going to be safe if I'm in charge of them, and I think this is important. And with that communication, she's going to be all over it. So that's also going to free her up to just trust you to be able to do that for either just a morning or an afternoon or a night when she wants to go out, or a night away with her friends, or go visit her family, or whatever it might be. So I think that's something that I got triggered by, because I was thinking like, hey, this mom's not allowing that dad to step up. But I have to fully admit that there are dads out there that aren't yet up to speed in that way, and I think it's really important. It was really important to me that I was self-sufficient with him, just so I felt, one, strong as a dad, and two, confident that if something hit the fan, that I wouldn't be thrown for a lurch and requiring like my folks to come down or somebody else to step in. I wanted to be the dad, and I wanted to be his caretaker. So food for thought. If that's something that you think is a weakness you don't have dialed in yet, I'd strongly suggest you get that dialed in. And if you've got that dialed in and you do that already, kudos to you, Dad. Good job. And your kids will be stoked to have that time alone because you'll be able to have a really fun time with them because you're confident rather than being freaked out. All right? So until the next episode, until the next time we connect, take good care of yourself, take good care of your families, and we'll connect next time.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. You can hang out with other dads in our Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search for the Dadhood Journey, and apply to get in. See you there, and see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Perfect.
Here we go, Dan.